Welcome to You Are Your Name. We're discussing balanced names with a name consultant from the Kavalarian philosophy. Thank you for joining us, Doria. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be a part. Thank you.
Doria Delane is a senior name consultant, and she has a wealth of experience that she can bring to understanding how people would benefit from balanced names. And that relates to the question for today, which is, can you share any anecdotes of people who have balanced their names and improved their lives? This is our second part of our testimonial podcast. So I'll start with one. So here's one from a person from Calgary. I cannot tell you enough how the Kavalarian philosophy has influenced my life and made me a more confident person. I've lost all my fears, inhibitions, and mental blocks. I'm now the master of my destiny. Since my balanced name change, I do not hesitate to do what is best for me. In other words, I like me. I could not say that before. I was my own worst enemy. Although I've not reached all of my goals, I'm optimistic that I will get there, as I'm open and receptive to receive all good in my life. Anything negative has fallen by the wayside. I strongly recommend Kavalarian philosophy for anyone who's searching for harmony, peace, and happiness. It's so easy to achieve these through the Kavalarian philosophy. Believe me, I know, for I feel the harmony, peace, and happiness in my life every day now. That's very nice.
Mm-hmm. Another lady who sent it in from United States. By using a balanced name, my mind is free of static. I compare it to being capable of tuning to a higher frequency of intelligence or listening to a radio with a clear reception. Everything in the natural world needs the right habitat in which to grow and mature. A rosebush doesn't stand much chance if planted in soil intended for a cactus. The saying goes for the mind, the name being the power that determines how our lives unfold. It can make the difference between sickness and health, discord and harmony, or confusion versus understanding. No amount of money could compare to the quality of life I have today, or convince me to take my old name back. I have meaningful relationships today, including the one with myself, and old conflicts are being resolved or simply melting away. I no longer think of myself as a victim of circumstances beyond my control. I have a sincere desire to understand others better and to be responsible for doing my part to make this world a better place to live. My search has brought me back to my own backyard, represented by the Kavalarian philosophy, and the journey has just begun in my own mind, which I have been largely ignorant of recently. It's as though the greater power which controls the universe is saying to me, welcome home. But it is based upon the tangible principles of the Kavalarian philosophy.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
This one is by a 90-year-old. He said, in January of 1954, I met a young lady who later became my wife. She was studying the Kavalarian philosophy and lost no time in introducing me to it. I will forever thank her for that. When her second child was born, she had difficulty in regaining her health and strength. The specialists were called in, and a long period of appointments and examinations followed. The results? They said there was no help for her. She had leukemia, and there was no cure for that. She was told that she might have 2 years to live and likely would not live that long. Next morning, we phoned Mr. Parker and explained the situation. He did not hesitate a moment. We were invited to his home, where he gave us a list of suitable surnames, another list of suitable first names for my wife and newborn child, and a third list for me and my 2-year-old son. We discussed the pros and cons of each name, chose our new names for the entire family, filled out our name change application, and went to the courthouse to register that application, and then went home with new names. My wife started regaining strength and lived for 38 years in good health, though never robust. It's impossible to recount all the benefits of being a Kavalarian student. There are many related to the physical and many related to mind. Changing one's name or balancing the name to the soul, or what we would call the spark, which is a given and can't be changed, is just the beginning. Each of us benefits according to the application we put forth in our studies about life and its purpose, but it's much easier with the tension gone between the body and soul. I recommend strongly everyone should look into the Kavalarian philosophy and find out how it works and what it has to offer.
It's wonderful to hear the responses, and they're all true. And it's just an opportunity to be able to realize you can change your life. Here's another one. Before I took that step, out of curiosity, and I suppose an attempt to validate, and this before spending money, on a balanced name report, I tried it out on several of my friends and family. I found a very high accuracy rate with a brief description of, at least 90% or so. In a few cases, I asked the individual whose name I was using as my testing ground how they felt about the description. Most found it fairly accurate. 75%, maybe 80%. Several people said things like, "Oh yeah, that's me, except for this part." Typically, this part was something I did, in fact, ascribed to them as being at least partially true. And I felt the objection was one based on just not liking how it was phrased, rejecting it out of some form of denial, or not really realizing how strong that influence has affected their life. In studying my own family in particular, having gone through 4 generations, I found some really stunning evidence that at least circumstantially supports the Kabbalah philosophy. I am not a huge believer in coincidences, and I saw distinct patterns that were certainly enough to raise eyebrows in even the most skeptical individual with whom I shared this data. I know this may come off as a testimonial, but that's okay. Take it that way. But if you want to really make changes, you will recognize that there is an outstanding layer beneath all of this. And if it interests you and you feel compelled to discover more about it, just go for it and discover for yourself the validity of these principles.
Excellent. I have one here on how they applied it to business. When setting up my new business, I wanted to do everything and anything to ensure its success. So when choosing a name, I decided to go with something that would be balanced and allow for success. This was my first time following the Kabbalah philosophy. At the time, I really knew nothing about it, but I thought it couldn't hurt. It seemed like a little out there and unusual, but I didn't tell anyone, not even my husband, that I was relying on something so unconventional. But after making the investment and using this philosophy for the naming of my business, I decided to go another step further and have my name and my children's names analyzed, still not discussing this with my husband for fear he would think I was being foolish. Finally, I did get up the courage to talk to him about it. I was surprised to find that he was open to learning more and he wanted to have his own name analyzed. I found that the descriptions of the names were so accurate, and I can understand now why I never really felt comfortable with both my first and last names. So we decided to change our last name and the spelling of our first names to ones that are fully balanced. After learning more about the philosophy through the first course, I couldn't imagine keeping the original unbalanced spellings of our daughters' names. In my new business and in my personal life, I feel a sense of security following the usage of correctly balanced names along with the proper timing with the cycles. Recently, I was having difficulty obtaining a merchant account for my business because of its newness. In fact, the broker who was assisting me thought that no bank would give me one. I have to say I wasn't worried, and I knew that because I was following the philosophy that it would eventually come through. A few days later, the broker called me to congratulate me on my new account. He was shocked, but I wasn't. Also, we've been telling our friends and family of our name changes. I've been pleasantly surprised that everyone is accepting it without any big questions. It's been no big deal, and most people think it's great. And we didn't have to give any big explanations as to why we're doing this. I was expecting people to really challenge us. But that's how it is. We made the firm decision to do this and have started using the new names already.
A Vancouver contact replied to their name change and said, "It has been over 9 years now that I've changed my name. The effects have been a more positive, clear, and successful life. No longer do I live each day being misunderstood, feeling defensive, and depressed. Since having a balanced name and living a productive life by using the mathematical principles, I understand the reasons behind each mishap and success in others' lives, as well as circumstances in mine. Also understanding the people by their name combination or birth path, there is more harmony with the people around me. Having clear ideals, focusing on the steps of growth and following the cycles, learned in the Kalex philosophy enables me to reach each goal for a happier and more productive life.
Here's one. When changing my name to a balanced name, I felt a real freedom within myself. I became more expressive and happier with myself and with life in general. I became more confident. I used my new name for about 2 years before changing it legally. I've always remembered vividly the day my papers were actually stamped in Victoria, making the name change legal. I felt a specific lightness. I knew that my name change had gone through, and I immediately felt free from the restrictions of my old name. Later, when I received the confirmation in the mail, the date I felt the change I am describing here was the very date it became legally effective. This has always demonstrated to me the very important link in changing one's name legally and having it exert the maximum influence in one's life. I've now had a balanced name for 31 years and confirm that it adds so much to having a happy and balanced life.
Before coming to the Kalex philosophy, I have suffered with phobias, irrational fears, lack of confidence, and other irrational thoughts all my life. I have searched for over a decade to solve my problems, looked into hypnosis, psychologists, self-help books, religions, etc., and nothing has worked. My problems were so severe that it made me dysfunctional and not able to be a part of school, to get a good job and a social life. I changed my name to the courts. Surely enough, my phobias have started to go away, and my health also started to get better. In a world where man doesn't know where he even came from, we should be neutral in finding a solution to our problems. In other words, if it works, just do it.
So I have one more that's interesting because a person received their balanced name at the age of 3. He writes, I have had a balanced name since the age of 3, so I never experienced the name change as an adult. I know, however, that my balanced name has influenced my life in many positive ways. In high school, I found I just did not go through the same emotional turmoil other teens did. Needless to say, I was very successful in school. I have always had an ease with people and a natural, uninhibited expression. I attribute this to the balanced name and the confidence that it has given me as a person from very early years. This has allowed me to follow a career that is well suited to my nature and has led to financial success and stability in my life. I've always had a comfort with who I am as a person and the potential I have to shape my life as I want it to be. My balanced name has given me clear thinking, the ability to be a decision maker and act on those decisions. I believe my name has created the balance and happiness that I feel fortunate to experience each and every day. So that's a few anecdotes. Obviously, we have many more, but hopefully that gives you a sense that a balanced name can have a real impact on your life. Thank you, Doria, for sharing those testimonials with us.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be able to share the truths of the principle.
Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways we can help you. Number 1, the Balanced Name Recommendation Service. Join the thousands of others who have harmonized their names with their inner potential to improve their health, happiness, and success. Number 2, learn the principles of mental freedom. Participate in our online training program to gain the essential tools to create all the progressive changes you seek in your life. These proven truths will open up new perspectives and accelerate your attainment of health, happiness, and success. Number 3, let Kalex Solutions help you choose a balanced name for your business, because many business names are an impediment to one's overall business success.